The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent. And that's power, because they control the minds of the masses. Malcolm X.
The controlled press, the white press, inflames the white public against Negroes. The police are able to use it to paint the Negro community as a criminal element.
When you listen to Malcolm X speak about the media, it almost sounds like he's talking from today's perspective. This is because the media has been controlled by one perspective for far too long. In many ways, the media has become a propaganda machine that has been used to dehumanize and to perpetuate stereotypes about black people that have been harmful to our progress in this country. It's very important for us to delve deeper into how the media has affected us.
What's the difference between media and propaganda? Is there any? The stories that we tell ourselves, the stories that we are told over and over again, whether they're real or not, their weight, they become real in some form or fashion, and they affect our reality. It's critical to understand the imagery of black bodies told throughout history. See, the stories that we told about our own people have, by and large, been erased. We have not been the authors of our stories. If you don't understand that, then you start to believe the myths and the lies and the propaganda that has been used to justify the horrors of slavery, the horrors of Reconstruction, and the horrors that tried to stop us from having equal rights, even today. That's why you have to really look at what's the difference between media and propaganda.
What is propaganda? Propaganda is defined as information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. Propaganda does not have to have any basis in fact. It is often one-sided, and it is always used with the intent to change the minds and the public perception of people about an issue. Slavery was one of the biggest issues of its time. At the origin of the transatlantic slave trade, it was not the natural order of the world that white people were superior to black people. As the wealth of the nations that practiced slavery grew, so did the propaganda that went towards dehumanizing black people. One of the methods that they used to try to justify slavery was this type of pseudoscience that claimed that white people were inherently more advanced than black people. They said that black people were less intelligent, had less emotional capabilities, and were more suited for manual labor. They said that we had physical differences, even in our skull, that made us different species. The other argument that came out to justify slavery was that somehow slavery was better, that white people were saving black people from their savage nature.
Slavery was all about creating visions, types, stereotypes of an entire race of people as subhuman in every way.
The next evolution of propaganda happens during the Reconstruction era of the United States. After the Civil War and after black people had really taken advantage of their freedom and were running for office and building communities and building wealth and doing really well for themselves. White people were so afraid that they formed the Ku Klux Klan and began putting out messages of the dangers of a free black society. We have entered Jim Crow era America, and this is where that minstrel imagery comes into play. But more important than that, this is the first time that propaganda includes a fear-mongering around black people. Now white people are afraid of black people. We are treated as criminals. Everything we do is criminal. Everything that we are trying to do is dangerous. Nothing illustrates this better than the landmark film The Birth of a Nation. This was the first blockbuster ever made. It was screened at the White House, and even today it is lauded for its technical innovations. The Birth of a Nation helped to rebuild the Ku Klux Klan to a height that it had never seen before or since. The membership soared, and its message of the black man taking the white woman and the only thing that could make America the way it was supposed to be was the Ku Klux Klan. That's what this movie was about. This movie was a straight up propaganda piece. One that said that black men are evil and scary and dangerous, and that white men must do everything they can to protect their people. This has been the foundation for how we see black people in this country. We had all type of blackface and minstrel shows that depicted black people as being either too stupid to be a threat or to be too threatening to be alive. These tropes and stereotypes have been the main informative pieces of information that people have about black people. The media has been propagating these images and these stereotypes for so long that many people believe it implicitly that black people are up to no good or are criminal by nature. The really interesting thing about media is it doesn't only affect white people. It affects black people and everybody else who watches it too. Kids as young as 5 years old are beginning to internalize these implicit biases that have been told by media and by life.
That doll. Which doll is the nice doll? And why is that doll pretty?
Because she's white and he has 2 eyes.
Which doll is the ugly doll? Why is that doll ugly?
Because he's black.
The researchers recruited about 135 preschool teachers. They had them watch video footage of 4 kids playing: a black boy, a black girl, a white boy, and a white girl. And they told the teachers, their subjects, watch the video, there may be some challenging behaviors. As soon as you see something that could become challenging, hit the enter key on your keypad. Well, here's the trick. There was no challenging behavior. The researchers were using eye scan technology to see which child the teachers were looking at the most. And what they found is that the teachers, both white and black alike, spent the most time watching the black boy, waiting for bad behavior that never came.
These biases show up in jobs, they show up in police interactions, they show up in how the news decides to tell stories. Take a look at this clip at how the news depicts a protest versus how it depicts a riot.
Seems like when the protesters are black, the media uses some pretty harsh words.
The bad guys, lawlessness, looting, wild animals,
criminals, and thugs.
Thugs. Isn't it the right word?
However, if you're white and you're tearing up the city because of a game, you're just young people.
Young people danced on a flipped-over car.
As UK fans did stupid things.
Some maybe got a little out of control.
Seeing a scene like this just shows how passionate the UK fans are.
It's so tough to lose, and unfortunately the ugly side that we sometimes see in sports.
And notice how the police always show up to a black protest in military-grade equipment, and yet the media claims they're just doing nothing.
It's inexplicable why the police are doing nothing.
Let's mobilize the National Guard.
If I'm a rioter and I see the police doing nothing, I might feel like I have a license.
You would.
But at white riots, the cops actually are standing around doing nothing.
Another group of cops over there just standing there.
No one was really doing anything.
These guys look like they could be watching a parade. And why is it that the leadership of the black community is always called into question?
Where is the leadership?
Leadership.
The black leadership.
The absence of leadership.
And it goes back to leadership, but that leadership has to come from the community.
But no one ever questions the leadership of white parents who let their kids burn down and vandalize their college campus.
These are just young college students who think they're playing some kind of a game with police officers.
We are looking at centuries of propaganda. We're looking at centuries of internalized biases that have been passed down from generation to generation. We will never be able to change the narrative of the world until we change the idea we have of ourselves. We have to fight against these narratives in our own minds and our own communities before we concern ourselves with what the world thinks about us. It's at times like this that I think about what Malcolm X said.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other.
Media is not inherently bad. Propaganda is not inherently bad. It's a tool, and it's a tool that can be used to reinforce positive stereotypes as well. It's a tool that can be used to build up self and race esteem. It's a tool that we can now use to tell our own stories.
You get the history that is given to us by other folk who have not lived it and don't know us. So therefore, it's important for us to tell our own stories. That's what I'm doing, telling our own stories from our own perspective, our own feelings. So that's the whole game plan that I'm going with.
Bob Lott is an institution when it comes to the filmmaking scene in Philadelphia, having won multiple awards for his documentaries and having his own installation in the African American Museum. There are few people who have the resume of Bob Lott. He began his filmmaking career working closely with Philadelphia International Records and the Sound of Philadelphia. In 1983, he began The Gavin and Lott Show, which was the first black nationally syndicated music video show. If you're not aware, MTV was playing music videos, but they were not playing black artists. This show was syndicated in 55 cities and was doing very well. He then began Teamwork Media Group International, whose main goal is to change minds by changing perceptions and combating negative imagery of the black community with positive imagery. On top of all that success, Bob Lott has been a really good friend and mentor of mine. And though he is much more comfortable behind the camera, I'm glad he decided to do an interview with me and discuss his philosophies.
Again, it's all about education. It's really about learning who you are as a black American, where you came from, but more importantly, what your life could be like if you ever got your act together. So all of our material is positive. You know, it kind of goes against what's happening on television today, which still shows in some cases, stereotypical things like, shows like Empire and whatnot. It's still stereotypical, and it has an effect on our young people. We want to show the better side. We want to show the kings and queens of who we are and who we were. So that's the whole purpose of the channel.
I actually think that right now is just a great time to be alive.
Because
we are really, really about to see how much power the black people have and how much power our dollar has. It's happening. I know you had to notice it. It's almost like everywhere you turn, everything is being revamped to be more culturally inclusive. Everything is being like rebooted to be more culturally inclusive. And it's not like everyone's just throwing white people out. It's just making everything we put our eyes on represent how America is truly looks. Because we were fed a lie.
The Media Bee is an online radio host, an entertainment blogger, and an actress. I met her a few years ago and we were doing interviews for a Peyote Visions release. She really has a wide breadth of knowledge and an impressive range of information. It makes her questions much more in depth than usual. I was interested to hear her perspective on black issues, as usually she's relegated to talking about entertainment. I know she has a unique position being a woman of color trying to navigate through the modern landscape of entertainment. So I was excited to sit down and pick her brain about things.
I said this a few times. This is the first time that black people in America have actually had the access to make these strides. Like, this is the first time.
But you know what's even more exciting is that all these changes are happening, and for a lot of networks besides ABC, because the head of ABC is a black woman, these are white people making these decisions. So that has to say something.
Well,
you know,
the demographics of the country is also shifting. That's one. And also, we've always been, the difference is the ownership. We've always been cool. Nat King Cole had a show. Sammy Davis Jr., he was cool. James Brown was like, there's always been a sense of cool. They've always loved our art. But now we're starting to, own it.
Get that pat.
Yeah, we're starting to get the bread from it.
We come from a place where we don't have all the funds, and then fame is shown to us that the only way that we're gonna be loved and appreciated is with fame, bro. Like, either being a ball player or being an entertainer. People don't know that you could be the best computer scientist and make more than a not even make more, but have more impact. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's there, man. And we're there. We're building businesses. We're not where we want to get, but we're farther than we've ever been.
That's true.
And that's something that we gotta respect. And I feel like as far as owning our masters, and then with the streaming and with the internet, we all are our own businesses. Like everybody in this room is their own business.
That's true. We need more people in positions of influence to speak on these things and to show what they're doing. And I think that's coming.
Yeah, I mean, with the Kendricks and the J. Coles, they're doing it. And I actually appreciate Kendrick. Did you see that concert he did where he had the white girl up on stage?
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, can you do it without?
Right.
You know, but I think that's good for them to see.
Right.
Because that happens to me on a regular basis. I'm telling people.
I tweeted about that. That was like my most viral tweet. I had so many responses to that. And people were getting like, it was crazy. Like, they were like, well, I don't understand this in the song. If you put in the song, it's like, no, you don't. I don't know what's complicated about it.
I don't know what's complicated either.
It's not that hard. Like, we can say it. We took ownership of that word. Y'all can't say it.
Now listen, if you want to, give me some reparations, you want to figure this out.
Oh, yeah.
You know
You're going to sell the word back?
I mean, listen.
She's gonna
but
sell.
y'all started this relationship poorly. You want to keep using the word in negative ways at the same time, and then no. See, we got to talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, it's got to be.
No.
We can't. I mean, that's part of the thing. Like, we can't. We're gonna give you the benefit of the doubt that you mean it friendly.
Yeah, no, that's not enough.
The problem is the programmed loathing and hatred of our African genesis. Then the solution is the reprogramming of African genesis, the reprogramming of the beauty and grandeur and sophistication of our African background, the reprogramming of the great cities of the Western Sudan that led the world in science and humaneness, the reprogramming of our fathers and mothers who gave to the world the light of humanity. The 14th, the 15th, the 16th, the 17th centuries. And we can do that through, and only through, drama, because drama evokes the emotion that is necessary to penetrate, as a sword, the subconscious.
Stories are more powerful than facts. We live at a time where people are always talking about fake news, where people don't know what to believe. The truth is, people go with their emotion over their intelligence. You go with what you feel. Stories make you feel. We're now finally getting to a position where we can tell our own stories. Where we can create our own legends and our own mythologies and our own characters that we can look up to. Representation not only matters, but is the building block for race esteem. It's the building block for believing in yourself, believing in something greater than yourself. You should never underestimate the power of a great story. It lives forever. Now, we have to take the information that we have, we have to understand the power of media, and we have to tell our own stories. I hope you all enjoyed this episode of VooDoo Man. Now remember, I'll be going live right after on my Instagram, which is I am Kingram. Make sure you follow me there. Make sure you hit subscribe and like the channel. And if you're not watching live, that's okay. Drop some comments. I'll talk to you about it there. There's a lot more information I have on this topic, but I try to keep it around 20 minutes. So feel free to contact me and ask me any questions you have about this, or give me any opinions or thoughts you have, and let's continue this conversation. VooDoo.